Okay, welcome to the August 2025 meeting of the City of Somerville Interim Climate Action Commission. I believe I got those details correct. Courtney, I can begin to take notes now, and perhaps you can take over when you're in front of a computer again.
Okay, sounds good.
7:01 p.m. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for coming. We will start with our customary round of introductions for the record. My name is Larry Yu. I am chair of the commission, and I live in the Davis Square area. Alexis?
Hi, Alexis Washburn, a member of the commission, and I live in the Teal Square neighborhood. I'll pass it to Courtney.
Hi, I'm Courtney Coslow. I live in Lagoon Square. Eliza?
Hey folks, Eliza Johnston. I live in Davis. I don't know who hasn't gone yet, so if you haven't gone, please jump in.
Kate, Christine, your pleasure.
Christine Blaze, Director of Mayor's Office of Sustainability and Environment. Kate.
Kate Crowley, I'm the staff liaison, and I'm the environmental policy manager for the City of Somerville. Thanks.
Wonderful. I have an offer here to take notes. I'm just going to say it out loud so everyone can hear. So thank you, Christine. That would be helpful if you were able to. Yep. Okay. Thank you. I know that was a private message, but I thought I should say it out loud for everyone's benefit. Hello, Ramon. Ramon, we are just finishing introductions. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Ramon, I've been on the commission for a number of years. I live in the Brick Bottom district in Ward 2, and glad to be here.
Wonderful. So the first order of business is approval of the minutes from our June meeting. And before we get to that, actually, deep apologies for not getting the announcements correct for the July meeting and having to cancel on the spur of the moment. That was disappointing, and that was a miss on my part. So apologies for that. The minutes from the June meeting were distributed. So does anyone require a minute to look over them?
I saw them earlier.
Would anyone like to move to approve them?
I move to approve the minutes from the June meeting.
I will second that.
A second from Eliza. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, why don't you say aye out loud?
Aye.
Hi.
Aye.
I heard 5 ayes, so motion passes unanimously.
I was gonna say, are we it? Is this not only quorum? Is this like the entirety?
Yes, it is. 100% attendance. We will get there though. So wanted to touch on nominations and potentially voting for chair, vice chair, and clerk for the Interim Climate Action Commission. So just to clarify things, like we are going to operate as an interim commission with our own officers, and when we get to it, we'll talk about our own bylaws for the interim commission, and then once we're able to get quorum for the regular commission, that will reset, and we will do elections again, and we'll have a different set of bylaws drafted down. I mean, I think we can provide a lot of scaffolding for it, but so just to be clear, that we're talking about the interim commission right now. In our June meeting, there were, I would call it, interim nominations for the Interim Climate Action Commission put forward for me as chair, Ramon as vice chair, and Alexis as clerk. And Alexis, thank you for reaching out earlier today about that. And I just wanted to sort of confirm with, I think we should each confirm that we would accept that nomination before we go further.
For the interim, yep.
Okay, that's a yes from Ramon
Yes.
and a yes from Alexis, and I would also be fine with that. That's also a yes from me.
I think I would be honored. It's really
That's what I meant. I would be
There you go.
honored. Pleased and honored. Thank you. And a question.
Sorry, Blair, I did have one question.
Yes.
And I'd be getting ahead of myself. I was looking at the slides. And the clerk position is mentioned as secretary in the slides, but I assume that's the same thing.
Yes, that is the same thing. I suppose it's technically, no, let's just say, yes, it's the same thing. It is from
I was the one that raised that. I just feel like clerk is a bit more of a modern terminology. Secretary. I mean, but that was when I was gonna offer to take that role. So Alexis, if you prefer secretary, you do you.
Eliza, if you would like to be clerk, yes.
Nope,
yeah.
nope. I'm so enthusiastic that you jumped in. That was like the surprise and excitement of this meeting. I was more saying I was the one that was advocating for the terminology of clerk, but I don't feel that strongly about it. I just felt like secretary was sort of like stewardess, like we're now flight attendants, like we're now clerks. Sort of that analogy.
Yep.
Yes, thank you for the clarification. I'm gonna ask Christine on a point of order here. Like, should we be voting on this now, given that we made some nominations in the previous meeting, or because the official acceptance of the nomination wasn't till today, do we have to wait till next meeting?
I think that because the nominations were made and people accepted them, that we can vote on it now, but if you want, I can double check.
Let's just do it, I'd say.
Okay.
So I would entertain a motion to elect, I'm going to do this as a single white ballot, to elect Larry Yu as, what is it, chair, Ramon Bueno as vice chair, and Alexis Washburn as clerk of the Interim Climate Action Commission.
I
Would
will,
anyone-
I will, do I second or do I move? I will second that motion.
No, you have to move it.
I will move that motion.
I second it.
Motion made by Eliza, seconded by Ramon. Is there further discussion on this? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye out loud.
Aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Okay, motion passed unanimously. Moving right along.
Maybe we only need 5 commissioners. This is like, look at us get stuff done.
Okay, so the bulk of the discussion today, we blocked off 45 minutes for this, is to talk about the bylaws. And big thank you to Eliza for helping out on pulling together this draft that was circulated as a Word document, which I have somewhere in front of me. Here we go.
And Larry, I'm sorry to interrupt just really quickly. I apologize for being a minute late. Did we not get, I think his name is Jason. I apologize. Did we not get Jason from the high school this time?
Jason did email me just before the meeting started. He's
Okay.
Unfortunately, he couldn't make it
Great.
today, but
Okay.
he's in for next time.
Okay, wonderful. I just wanted to make sure we didn't scare him off after one not real meeting. Okay, wonderful. Thanks, Christine.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Eliza. So again, just to clarify that what's some of the language here, Eliza and I drafted this kind of with the intent of being really the scaffold for the Climate Action Commission bylaws. In further conversations with Christine and with the city clerk, like our understanding is really we need bylaws for the interim first, and then deal with the Climate Action Commission after that actually becomes a body. So there are some pieces in here that I'm going to suggest we pull or find language to kind of subordinate. You know, maybe frame it as a recommendation to the Climate Action Commission rather than part of these bylaws, just to simplify things for this body of 5 people. So I just want to clarify that, because you may run up against some passages that are like, how could we do this, or does it make sense to have a 4th officer on a body of 5 people? You know, questions like that may come up. So just sort of get in front of that. And wondering, I think I can share my screen perhaps, and maybe we can walk through some points that I have highlighted. Okay, so hopefully, yes, this looks good. So just starting here with Article 1, purpose and function. Purpose and function were basically ordained, and so this is basically repeating so that everything's all in one place. It's not necessary to do that. I guess I suggest that since we already did do it, maybe we keep it, but maybe when we go forward to the Climate Action Commission, this language isn't actually necessary, because it's literally copied and pasted from the ordinance.
Okay.
That is likewise true here for the top of Article 2. Article 2, Section 1.
What does TK mean?
TK needs to come. I'm sorry, that's an editor thing. So when we drafted this as ordained by the city of Somerville, I was going to add reference to the actual ordinance, and forgot to paste it in there. So that'll just get pasted in when we get to it. So this section here on Section 1 is straight from the ordinance. This section that I highlighted is this was kind of our recommendations for how we might approach the membership of the CAC. So I've highlighted it here because it probably doesn't belong literally as the ICAC bylaws, but perhaps we can just change language that's, that says, the ICAC recommends that the membership of the CAC, blah, 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 blah. So that we don't get ourselves into trouble.
That's a good way to deal with it.
Something along those lines.
I like doing it that way. It recommends the CAC to be blah, blah.
And it doesn't lock them necessarily. But we should probably talk about the details here as well of A, B, and C. So A was our attempt to sort of pull together all the, I guess you could say, domain expertise that we had talked about, and do it in a way that isn't super restrictive in terms of, like, we need 1 slot for social resilience and 1 slot for real things, but to do it in a way that sort of captures all the kinds of things that we might be looking for and that we would seek to balance. We also call this working knowledge and experience in the following areas. So not framing it as, expertise, per se, but some comfort level and some, as we say, working knowledge. It's a
And
long
Larry, and
list.
if I could just jump in, I mean, I think
Yep.
when we had brainstormed this, a couple months ago at this point, we had if you guys remember, it was like a pretty detailed bullet list of all of these. And when Larry and I were thinking about sort of functionally how, we're going to match, if you think candidates and, whatnot, we wanted to have some specificity in terms of the domain areas, but not make it so binary that we're like checking a box for people to sort of fall into these categories. And so this was I would say, sort of compromise that we came up with. I'd be very open to hear if that resonates with people or if they have another suggestion on it, because I think we didn't feel like this was perfect, but we felt like it was close. So I don't know, Alexis, maybe you have an idea.
Yeah, no, I think that this list is pretty comprehensive, and so I would say that I think it looks good. I think if you wanted to be more inclusive, particularly for Part A, you could add something along the lines of like, or other topics that, contribute directly to the function of the commission. But I don't think it's entirely necessary, but that could be a potential suggestion. So just tying it back into the purpose of the commission itself.
Does anyone have, before I come to Kate, does anyone have any thoughts on that suggestion?
I like that because it leaves it a little bit vague and open. And if you think about the fact that we want this to grow with us, who knows what
Yeah.
we'll need in 5 years.
Yeah. Yeah. Could you restate it for me, Alexis, again?
I need some wordsmithing still, but I would say, or other, how do we say it? Or knowledge and experience and other topics that, contribute to that advance the, role of the commission, something along those lines. Because there might be new topics or ways that we are referring to things in a year from now that are directly related to the role of the commission, but we haven't had the language for it yet.
Yeah. I like that. And also, I mean, when I was reading, I wanted to make sure that, because it's a serious list of what some people might see as intimidating if they were considering, so I would want to make sure that when it says include among its memberships individuals within the working knowledge and experience in the following areas, maybe among the following areas or in some of the following areas. I don't know if it's still a little too like, wow, if I'm interested in this, I guess Somerville community-based organizations, workforce and outreach and engagement and equity gets out of some of that more technical stuff. But I don't know, is that?
What about if we just say in any of the following areas, just to make it a little bit more broad?
That maybe that would make it a little less intimidating.
I like that, and I would also add that like in seeking to recruit and like kind of have an intake form for potential members, we also need a way to vet all of this, and so one way is to maybe have them write a paragraph that describes their working knowledge of any of these, or another is to have like check boxes on this. But functionally, we do need a way of actually assessing this.
Right.
Kate?
Yeah, I think this discussion might get a little bit at the comment I was going to make, but I was just thinking of the youth members of the CAC and just thinking about, they may not have a working knowledge or experience in one of these issues, but wanting to make sure that it's inclusive of kind of the youth experience and how to pull them in.
Yeah, what's that phrase? The living I forget, there's a phrase that I've seen, but has the word living,
Lived experience.
lived experience, or, you know, or family lived experience. I don't know. But I wouldn't be opposed to anything like that as well.
Christine?
Yeah, thanks. I think these are all great comments too. I do just want to remind folks that the bylaws are very flexible and we can technically change them at any time. So I think maybe the way to kind of think about this is that there's sort of these two opportunities in front of us where we can shape how we're advertising the current open positions and the 13 open positions. And that would be first through the bylaws so that we can help to inform the job descriptions, which would be the second piece of this. So, you know, the bylaws, I think we were intending to kind of have these conversations to say, okay, who do we want to make up those 13 spots and what kind of, you know, like expertise or lived experience or kind of range of folks would we like to see there. And that's sort of what this bylaws piece can talk through. And then if anybody's, I think, looking for that comprehensive list, I think it's also supplemented. It's on one of the slides that we can pull up. But then it's also supplemented, I think, by a small paragraph in the June minutes too, because a couple other things were brought up. But the other piece I would note is that I think a lot of these suggestions are great and can inform the job description piece too. So, you know, even if like some of the idea, like I don't know what you will vote on to keep and not, but I'm just thinking that maybe some of these ideas too could also find their way into that job description conversation that we have later on too.
Perfect. Thank you. Alexis?
My last suggestion here, so we can move on, is where we say seek to include in its membership individuals with the working knowledge. Oh, I guess, or lived experience. I was going to say, or you could say, or interest in any of these topics.
I like that. Working knowledge, lived experience, or interest.
I have one more thing before we move on, and it's only that I think this is still editing within the ordinance itself, technically, right? I
Nope.
think.
This is not.
Okay.
So the way it was, the way I put this, so this section was
Okay.
as ordained and this section is.
Okay. Yeah. So we'll just want to make sure that it doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. That like it matches with what's
that
in
makes
the.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. We didn't comment on it, but I have here we recommended, well, we said prioritize 2 members who live in each zip code, and we also expressed a desire to have someone from each ward, although sort of subordinated that having 2 members from every zip code. So I don't know if that feels overly prescriptive or not prescriptive enough. Alexis, you have thoughts?
Is there a reason why we say zip code and then we say ward?
Yeah, so there are 3 zip codes and 7 wards, and so the zip codes are you know, having
Easier
2
threshold.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So like definitely want to we said prioritize that, and like it'd be nice to have one from every ward. Let's put it that way.
Say because the zip codes go east to west, we do, you know, get some diversity even just by focusing on those 3. So I know for other organizations in the city, the way that we think about geographic diversity is by zip code, even though the city, you know, municipally focuses on the wards. It's harder to get the ward, you know, representation, and to some extent, it's a little bit, in my opinion, a little bit less meaningful. If you can get parity across the zip codes, I think that you've done a good job.
Would it I'm wondering if it would be a good idea when you mention zip code to maybe put in parentheses what those 3 zip codes are. Most people might not think about zip codes other than their own and not be aware of like, oh, what are the others?
Yeah, we could probably do that on that, like an application form, but
Yeah,
probably don't have to be.
okay.
That's right, yep, but it's a good point. Kate?
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure where it would fit, but something I was thinking about in terms of when you guys are thinking about like diversity of membership is renters versus homeowners. And I feel like that's a really big one in a lot of our climate
Oh, yeah.
policies. So just to kind of pose that of, where you might like to consider it. Maybe it's in the application. I'm not sure.
No, that's a good point. I thought we had that actually. In the-
Yeah, I thought we did before.
Yeah,
That's
I
an
think it must have just fallen out when we were talking, Larry, because I agree, Kate, that's really important.
Yeah, yeah.
We should probably say at least 2 renters and 2 homeowners, just for equity, 2 renters and 2 owners, or 2 homeowners, or 3. What do you think?
Um,
Do we want to be specific with numbers, or can we just say a mix here?
mixed representation or a
Yeah.
I mean, if
So-
we say at minimum 2, then at least it has a low bar to get that. I
Yeah,
don't know. That seems fine to me.
and Christine?
Yeah, if we want to, this is something that we can like propose something here, and if you want, I can have the
Yeah,
the internal team look at it and give a recommendation.
Okay.
okay, thank you. And I did hear we did hear add 1 member who is age 65 or older at the time of appointment. I mean, I guess they're not gonna get younger, so we didn't have to say at the time of appointment, but still. Is that something we still think is desirable from a age diversity perspective?
Yeah.
Desirable to enshrine in the bylaws?
I think mentioning whether through a specific number, or just mentioning seeking, a range of age, given that we have students, so range from students to senior, you could just say seniors.
So your suggestion is to not, is to use language that says we seek a diversity of ages instead of stipulating 1 member who's age 65 or older.
Larry, where is the text specifically about our youth member? I'm getting maybe that's somewhere else in this.
That is in the ordinance itself, which.
I see. Okay, so this is more of this is, as Christine said, these are more flexible bylaws.
Right. Right. And so the language here we say is like seek to do this or prioritize.
I got it. Okay, got it. Yeah, so I'm okay with that. If it's the bylaw, we can change it if it doesn't work out. I think it demonstrates a commitment.
Christine?
Yeah, I think that that's a good point, that they are flexible. I think we still, yeah, I'm with you though, that we want to be like intentional with how we're wording it, just so that we can minimize the chance for like confusion or like, backing ourselves into a corner or something like that if we can't like meet the standards of the bylaws too. So I think this is good. I think that what you said is a good point, just to kind of be mindful of that.
The only question I would have is that given that where it says the ICAC shall further, and it's very specific, right? I mean, it gets into a lot of nitty gritty there, whether someone would say, oh, I thought you had a very specific thing about students, and the fact that it mentions 65 or older, and somebody reading it might say, wasn't there something about inclusion of 2 students? So I don't know whether it should make a mentioned somehow in I don't have a good wording to recommend, but
I think I can find some language to insert right up here saying just in addition to the above or ordained requirements or something along those lines. Unless Christine has a better thought.
Yeah, no, this was what was recommended by the clerk's office was I just dropped the text in the chat was just so that we don't risk any like errors amongst like different versions, like if it gets updated or anything over time. They recommended the specific language instead of like rewriting the text of the ordinance. But I do think that maybe there's something like if there's but if there's a way to write that too, we can figure it out. We can wordsmith it.
Okay, yeah, so what we could do is just say like the ordinance requires this,
right,
and then we recommend that.
right, something like that.
And then we can use our own language here and not risk copy paste errors. Is that what you're saying? I'm sorry, Christina, I can't see the chat, so.
Sorry about that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it just links to the statute. And I put it in the chat too for anybody that wants to view the statute as we're looking at this.
Okay, got it now. Yeah, okay. I appreciate that. I do think for reasons that were commented here, I do think we should repeat those requirements because they fit, because they're important to understand as we talk about these recommendations for other memberships. But I do take the point about not necessarily just copying everything, but maybe we can just restate.
Okay.
Okay. Why don't we move on then to the next section here, section 2, member participation standards. We've talked about this a little bit, but just want to state it again, like come to meetings. This says 6, which is roughly half. Regular participation, as the way we have the clerk role laid out, is that the clerk can designate acting clerks for meetings to actively take the notes. But then the clerk is just responsible for coordinating that and organizing that and making sure that it happens in the end. So this way, the same person isn't stuck taking the literal notes every meeting. So regular participation as that clerk is part of the member participation standards, although there are some opt-outs that can be made. So
Okay.
be available for OSC staff for consultation and participate in community engagement events, at least one.
Yeah.
Christine.
Hey, sorry. Hello, me again. For the 6 meetings, I think it
Yeah.
seems sort of unreasonably low because that's really only saying 50% of them. And in the ordinance we have, if any member is absent for 3 or more consecutive ones, then the commission may request the mayor remove them from the membership. So I just don't want to I don't want to conflate with what's in the ordinance.
Yeah, it's a fair point, particularly with the language in the ordinance. I mean, there was one thought that we had, which around making sure there's space for people to participate who might not always be so available for evening meetings, and which may include youth members. And so if we can imagine our subcommittees being robust and active, then participation in the committees could essentially substitute for active participation in the subcommittees could replace, 6 of the meetings. So you don't have to come to as many full commission meetings, but if you're active in the subcommittee, then that sort of like takes its place. I think that's what we had kind of imagined.
So maybe this would be rephrased to say I forget how to phrase it, but to mention regular, oh, I see, or subcommittee meetings, I see. So it does mention that.
Alexis, you had something as well?
Yeah, I think Christine makes a good point, given the language in the ordinance, and so I might suggest like striking this and so we say right now, at a minimum, these following four things are, maybe we should instead say like strive to attend, all meetings or have excused absences or something like that. 'Cause I think we want people to come to all of the things, because if someone's only participating in subcommittees, it's then like hard to have that voice then communicated at the larger commission meeting. And the subcommittee meetings don't necessarily have to be open to the public, correct? So yeah, I think we want people to attend as much as possible, and we recognize life happens, so it's okay if people can't make it, but to communicate that in advance as much as possible.
Well, one of the major, I think, constituents that may actually exclude is the business owners, particularly those who have retail businesses that retail and restaurant businesses that may be
Right.
required.
That's a good point.
Courtney?
What if we were to say that members will strive to attend all meetings with a minimum of 6, after which will be reassessed?
Although, as Christine said, and in the other part, it says, it sounds like you just try to attend 3/4 of the meetings, because
Well, but they don't have to be, as Christine said, it's the consecutive, right? You can't miss more than 3 meetings consecutively, but
Oh,
you
I see.
you could extensively miss every other meeting and come to 6. I mean, I think, Larry, I think
That's-
you set the stage really well for this, but just to sort of back up for a minute, I mean, part of the reason that we talked about this, as extensively as we did is because if you've got a body that's, double or more than double, the size of our group, one of the questions is sort of like, what are they going to do? Like, what is the purpose of having this much participation? Do we have enough for them to do almost? And so that's where, I want to make sure that if we're requiring meeting attendance, that we really have enough for people to do. But really, if it's like, I'm here, I'm a commissioner, I'm going to review documents, offline, I'm going to participate in a community event a month as a representative of the commission, and I'm going to chair the, diverse outreach subcommittee. Like, to me, that would actually be really valuable community member time, to contribute. So I think, it was hard to have the conversation about the standards, or, participation standards a bit in a vacuum before we think about what the CAC is actually going to be doing, like what's on their agenda. And that's where I think, even though I agree 6 meetings, 50% attendance is a pretty low bar, it gets back to like what's being discussed in these meetings that's so valuable of their time, and are there other ways that people who may not have the flexibility to attend these meetings could contribute in really meaningful ways. So I'll just sort of put that out there as a bigger picture idea that was sort of the origin of the 6.
That's a good point.
Christine?
Yeah. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I hear folks. I think it's still, for me, I think there's like a couple things that are coming up. I think the first one is that there's no mechanism to enforce this, but there is in the ordinance. So the ordinance has, we talked about this, and we came up with the 3 consecutive meetings being the low bar for folks thinking that,
Right.
which already allows for this situation to happen. It doesn't need to be restated here because it's already allowed per the ordinance. And there's nothing that we can do as a commission based on what it says in the ordinance if somebody were to miss more than 6, unless 3 of those 6 were consecutive.
Right.
So it's a moot point and it should be taken out. Beyond that, I think that it was brought up at the June meeting about, what if nights don't work with all 13 new people? And I think that, you guys know, like the Commission on Energy Use and Climate Change is, for years we had like 100% attendance at like all of our meet. It was like pretty bizarre. We had really good attendance for a really long time. I think if it's a good sign if people want to come because this is a job for them. It's going, I hope it will be a desirable position for people, particularly the youth positions. People are looking for things to do. We already offer it virtual, which is great. And, I think what we talked about last time was that we could decide to do it during the day instead of at night. And that's something that we could consider. But again, that's something for the CAC to litigate. We're focusing on the ICAC right now. And the main thing that we should be thinking about is how do we get these bylaws in a position so that we can draft the job descriptions so that we can start getting those 13 people on board. The other piece is that we have 77 things that we need to do. We have our list of things through Climate Forward, and it's an award-winning climate action plan. It's the right plan for Somerville. And beyond that, we have a zero waste plan, a vulnerability assessment, and a consumption-based emissions inventory, and all of them have recommendations for things that we can be doing. And all of those are included in the climate action plan too. So I think that we're on the right track. But if we get folks in here that have the drive and the experience and, are interested in kind of, digging in, and maybe, I don't know, maybe selecting a couple, one or two of those to really take on, I think that it can be really good. But that's my pitch for this particular line.
Yeah, so I mean, it's interesting that you say that to me, I find it interesting that you say it's not enforceable. I mean, none of these are enforceable because they're not in the ordinance, right? So like what we're articulating are the standards and our expectations, not like if you don't do this, you're going to get fired.
Right.
And so from that perspective, I think for exactly the reasons that you said in terms of defining the performance, that what we expect as we bring on members for the new year, I actually do think it's important and helpful to stipulate something beyond don't miss 3 meetings in a row. That's me personally, but maybe others think otherwise.
I mean, I wonder if some phrase could be found that participation will be considered from a range of the monthly meetings, subcommittee meetings, and community engagement, that all count towards their participation threshold. So I don't know what phrase to use, but
I guess I had forgotten that we were having a separate job description. So Christine, can you just remind me how explicit, because Larry's point about this being like setting expectations as opposed to being an enforcement mechanism, sort of how I was thinking about it. But if the job description already says that, then I agree. It feels a little bit less necessary to put it here. So can you just remind us again what the job description might entail?
Sure. Well, and I think this part too, this would be for you guys because this is the ICAC and not the CAC. So you guys are telling yourselves,
okay, that's
you need to attend 6 meetings.
Yeah. Okay. Good point.
Yeah.
Okay. So
I think that's fair. Let me
Yeah.
put that in highlights. So this is another section where really we're making recommendations to the CAC, not requirements for the ICAC. That's an excellent point.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's good recommendations for them to consider, but it might not be appropriate for today. But the job description is we have standards for it. that come down from the mayor's office. So it's like written in plain language and it's translated across 6 different languages. It's posted for a minimum of 6 weeks. We have like standard places where we'll post it. And it it kind of goes a little bit more in depth into each of the positions that we're advertising. So that's where you might get some of that language like, in this position, there's a list of, I think, 15 things or 13 things that we had put together previously. And you could sort of
does it
like,
does it include
yeah.
something like hourly commitment per month? Or again, I just think it'd be good to be explicit about, this
Yeah.
is something that you need to set aside 2 hours per month, or yeah, okay, then
Let's keep those up.
yeah, then I think, I mean, mostly what I was thinking, getting this in here is to not discourage someone who, as Larry said, is a business owner and is like, I can't get to, 12 evening meetings, but I could, commit to 6, and I could, be actively involved in, a subcommittee that was involved in outreach or something like that, so that it it's more accessible.
Right.
But if we've specified that in the job description, then I think that's the right place to put it, because that's where we're, that's the outward first step in, is this the right fit for you, as opposed to now you're on the now you're on the CAC and we're enforcing it, because again, it's not enforceable anyways.
Yeah, and I think, yeah, just to reiterate, this is for the interim commission. Like these are bylaws for you all, for you 5, not for the CAC.
Understood. Understood.
Yeah.
We'll
Okay.
revise this to be either anything we keep in this section, we will rephrase as sort of suggestions for the CAC, but we'll also hold the important points for the job description as mentioned.
Quick question. The job descriptions are intended to go out starting when?
When we get these bylaws written, passed.
The ICAC ones?
Yeah, we were going to use the ICAC bylaws as the basis for understanding how to write the job descriptions. So yes.
Okay.
Alexis?
It's helpful to have these reminders that this is very temporary and that there will be other bylaws that are coming, but I think it's still good to have some of this like placeholder text. I think even though we know, I think everyone in this group is planning to attend all of the meetings until we are the official Climate Action Commission, minus a handful or 2 meetings being missed. But I think it's a good reminder, particularly because there will be a lot of new people joining, and just to reiterate sort of those commitments. So I think, not that in particular, but there are going to be things that come up where we understand them as a group inherently because we've all been working together for, at least a year or close to a year at this point, but other people will not have that institutional knowledge.
Right.
Yep. Excellent. Okay, we'll play with this and come back. The section 3 is on ex officio members. I don't think there's anything discussion here, but you'll tell me.
I lost your screen.
You lost my screen?
Well, I don't know if I lost it,
No,
but
I can still see it.
what I'm saying is I somehow stumbled on being back on just the membership of the meeting. So I'm not seeing it. I don't know what I had to do.
Maybe it's a bandwidth issue. I see your screen still.
Christine?
Yeah, I wanted to make a clarification here. As needed throughout the year. This one is one, oh wait, hang on, sorry, I wanted to read it again. CAC including one action, make sure that's available throughout the year. Yeah, okay, yeah, sorry. I had to sorry, I had to read it again. This one, because it's another one of those sections that kind of restates what's in the ordinance, it might be one that we want to take a look at, just like in that kind of under the heading of like, it's already somewhere, do we want it to be somewhere else sort of thing? But otherwise, that was my only comment.
wait a minute, I've lost which heading are we looking at?
It's Article 3, or I'm sorry,
Section
Article
3.
2, Section 3.
Ah, okay.
And sorry, similarly, the OSPCD staff support section. Which I'm assuming will be non-controversial.
What's the OSPCD staff support? We're OSE. Is this
It should be, that is a copy paste error.
okay? I think similar to the comment above for Section 3, it's already in the ordinance, so I don't think we necessarily need this one.
Okay. We'll come back on that, but would love to talk about officer stuff for a bit, since I think there's a few things to discuss there.
Wait, I'm sorry, Larry, just before you cut in, I just want to ask a quick question based on what Christine has reminded us in the last couple of sections. This is for the ICAC that we're talking about, or is this a suggestion for the CAC?
This is a restatement of what's in the ordinance, so it essentially covers both.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, officer elections and responsibilities. Here, I will point out that it's probably the case that we want to pull the outreach and engagement lead out and make that as a recommendation to the CAC rather than part of the ICAC. Again, 4 officers with 5 members may be a little overkill. We'll put this in highlights. You know, stipulated here, elections shall take place first meeting the ICAC each calendar year. That's probably again a recommendation for the CAC. Christine, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, if you want, you can keep it if we change, particularly, I think if we go up to the Section 1 here under Article 2, where it says members shall annually move to elect. If we just change that to nominate, you can, I think you could technically keep them all as long as you know, we annually move to nominate them. We don't necessarily need to like fill the position though, but for what it's worth.
I see what you're saying. So
Yeah.
So just like keep the position unfilled, keep that officer position unfilled. Okay. We'll consider it.
Yeah, whatever you want. Yeah.
Why don't we, let's touch on that when we get to the actual responsibilities. So officer responsibilities, the chair does not change much, I think, although, well, it writes out some things, but I don't think there's anything controversial there necessarily. It does say primary representative for what it's worth. The vice chair, likewise, the only really specific thing we added here was that the vice chair, in collaboration with other officers, shall create an annual summary of ICAC activities and accomplishments to make public, to offer to the public. And I think our intent there was for that to be a recommendation to the CAC and not necessarily for the ICAC. So we may change the language here. And Ramon, you might be off the hook for creating that such summary.
Thank you.
Christine?
I had some suggestions here, but I think it might, I don't know if it's worth going through them all now, but maybe I can just, could I email them to you?
You absolutely may. Yes.
Okay, thanks.
And we will probably accept them all.
I don't know if they're all worth accepting.
And likewise, the clerk, we talked about this a little bit, but sort of adopted a process as described by another commission whereby the clerk can organize an acting clerk schedule and have other people physically take the notes as long as the clerk is the person who sort of does the coordination and is ultimately responsible for the filings. So hopefully have one person accountable, but not have to necessarily do all of the work. And then lastly, the outreach and engagement lead, who is the chair of the outreach and engagement subcommittee. Yeah, I guess that's the only responsibility is to be the chair, but I wanted to elevate that to an officer position because just because I think of what we heard from OSC about the importance of this role to them for the commission. So that's why we offered it as an officer position. And Christine, you're right. I guess we could keep this as just an open officer, an unfilled officer position if need be.
We'll see. I can when we get it to a more kind of finalized space, I can send it with, or whenever, I guess I can send it to other folks to see what they think. They might say the opposite. We'll see.
Why don't I roll to the subcommittees because we really haven't done a lot of work, and I know we're short on time, but I would love to sort of chat about this anyway. We basically only defined for now an outreach and engagement subcommittee with the full expectation that there would be other committees. I mean, certainly the CAC would have other subcommittees, and we've talked about what some of the other ones are, but seeing as we're down to 5 people, perhaps the ICAC is really just about is really a 5-person subcommittee. But Alexis, go ahead.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was going to suggest. We could leave this as is, or write it how some of the other sections where we recommend the CAC shall do this. Just because we are such a small group. And I think the other thing that I would say just for subcommittees is that I'm a bit cautious to have standing subcommittees, particularly when written into the bylaws, particularly when I think our role as a commission changes throughout the year. And so if every year, for example, or every 2 years we were publishing, the climate action plan, for example, then yes, it would make sense to have a standing subcommittee doing that thing because it's a very regular recurring activity. And I think it's a little bit, at least it seems to me, things are fluctuating a lot. And so, which is one of the reasons why some of the subcommittees we have had haven't met as regularly because the work ebbs and flows.
Right.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. I mean, it might be interesting for us as an ICAC eventually to think about. I mean, I liked what Christine said about marrying the responsibilities or the role of the ICAC and then eventually CAC to the items listed out in the climate action plan, and maybe there's a way that we can sort of thematically bucket them in an action oriented way. Again, I think part of the reason that I was interested in getting some of this fleshed out was really, again, more in the context of the job description, to give people a sense of what are we doing? What will I be doing if I join this? And so, maybe we don't put anything specific here, and I mean, I could argue still to keep outreach and engagement, or to argue not, but then say something like, subcommittees will be aligned with the pillars or whatever the terminology, of the climate action plan and other, agenda. And then maybe it's more of a process, at the beginning of every year and on a haddock basis, on a quarterly basis or something like that, just to lay the groundwork a little bit for how the CAC might, determine subcommittees and get them off the ground.
Yeah, I mean, I like the idea of not getting overly specific since, you know, the best, A, it could be intimidating, but B, that it should be something that a focus of which should be determined on the fly as the year and the relationship with OSC develops, you know, depending on where progress is happening or not enough happening on the climate action plan and any of the other things. Which reminds me, do the job descriptions or when somebody's responding to them, do they ever get notified just so that for their information, they should kind of browse the climate action plan, the other kind of documents, so they have a feel for what the office is dealing with and what the commission is dealing with? Is that ever mentioned to them to like take a look at, you know, they don't have to read it line by line, but browse?
Yeah. Yeah, we can talk about it this time. Yeah, I think we want to make sure that it's like accessible to folks too. And I think we do it by advertising it in other languages, but I think
Right.
it does sort of lead you to think, okay, well, if somebody does apply and these are our resources, what do we have to share with them too? So that can definitely be something that we talk about and try to figure out when we're advertising it. That is something that we do with, you know, like other positions with the city, like a paid position, like in OSC or something like that. But I can look. I put an example in the chat. I linked to what I could find on the website, at least as the most recent job description that's gone out for the Community Preservation Commission. Just so folks can kind of get an idea of what is included in there and what that looks like. And then, if there's anything that's missing, just let me know, but I'll make a note of this for sure.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing I would add to what I said was that, I mean, I know if I was applying to a position like that, I would want to get a feel for what's the realm of topics and things and priorities. I know that depending on how busy the people are, the entire climate action plan might be a bit overwhelming. But you have like summaries, right? That kind of more high level, so someone could just point to those, and then for further
Yes.
details, there's the entire document. Because I know that it's, if you're pressed for time and you go, oh my God, I got to read 80 pages.
Yeah, that's a good point. We do have the executive summary translated. Thank
Right.
you.
Yeah.
I would be open to further thoughts on whether we think it would be helpful to have the outreach and engagement standing subcommittee in the ICAC bylaws. But, I mean, so I'll just give an argument for or against. Like, for, it's good to signal that this is a priority for us and that our expectation is that it's an ongoing priority. Against is that it's 5 people, and so, like, do we really have a subcommittee, or is it just all of us are on the subcommittee, right? So functionally, does it help? Perhaps a little less. Alexis.
Yeah, I think Eliza made a great point at the beginning of the meeting. We're getting a lot done as a 5-person commission. But I think also going back to like the roles in the earlier section, the community outreach and engagement lead is supposed to chair that subcommittee, and we did not nominate or elect that position. And so I would say we should not have the subcommittee for the ICAC, but recommend that the CAC shall institute it.
It's a good idea.
Okay. Courtney?
I wonder, in the interest of time, if this really, we keep getting to, but this is only for the ICAC. Like, how long do we expect will be just the ICAC?
Good question. I have the same question.
I'm shooting for 4 months.
Okay, so if that's the case, and we're not, like, if we were really trying to set this up for the CAC, which is how I originally thought of it, and then I'd have lots to say here, but I'm hearing we're not doing that. I think that's what I'm hearing. We're really just doing it for the next 4 months. I say
I've
we,
tried to thread the needle a little bit, right? So like, I've tried, I think we're trying to do like three things. We're trying to do the next 4 months. We're trying to set the stage for the job description, and we're trying to not be overly prescriptive, but really set some direction for what the CAC might do.
okay, if we're
so
setting direction, I agree then that this should be more, should focus on the goals of the climate forward plan. I
Okay,
feel like, you know, Christine mentioned all of the different plans we have and all that we have done here, and I don't feel like our commission has spent enough time. We've gotten updates on things, but we haven't really like figured out how we can help move each individual piece along, in my opinion. So I would really like to see that highlighted in the future, whether it's now or later.
Yeah, I was just gonna respond, Courtney. When Larry and I were writing this, we were very much thinking this is not a 4-month document. This is because again, we're gonna have, 13, at least 10 of whom are, 9 of whom are new people. Give them a little bit of a head start, not prescribe things, but give them something to start with, given the institutional knowledge that we all have. So that's that's how I would think about this.
Yeah, I like that.
One question I had along the lines of the question of how long is this interim committee going to live? It's a short, medium. When the full committee, when the CAC is in effect and we start having new members, are we anticipating that we're going to have much discussion on organizational dynamics and documents and stuff? Because that could be a bit of a turnoff to new people who want to see what we're doing, how they fit in, and do it. And if I know if I was new to a organization and the first 3 or 4 meetings were dealt with like the kind of things we've been dealing with the last 3 or 4 meetings, I would feel like okay, this is not ahead of mine.
I think that's exactly the point, Ramon. Like, we want to give them enough so it isn't starting from scratch, but not prescribe, so that they can sort of imprint their own identity on it. But I think you're right. Like, we've got to let them hit the ground running on some technical aspects of the work, or else it's going to feel very unfulfilling.
Yeah.
Christine?
Yeah, I agree. I think there's there's so much effort that was put into this, and I think there's a lot of great guidance for the CAC. And I wonder if this could be split into 2 documents where we have the ICAC bylaws, and then, or even like 3 documents. We have like the ICAC bylaws, we have kind of like a growing guidance document that we can add to as we kind of think about this more for the CAC. And then there's like kind of this third document where it has, things related to like job descriptions that might not quite like fit into bylaws, but we can use them to inform like what's in the job descriptions for particular positions themselves. And maybe that, and that way all of the work can be preserved and we can like keep it into these separate buckets.
Sorry, what was the third document?
Oh, the
That was
job
like the
descriptions.
guidance. Yeah, the like guidance, it's like
Guidance.
the ICAC, CAC, and then like job descriptions and other useful information.
Yes. Thank you. I forgot.
No,
Got
I
it.
think that's a really great idea. And I think that's sort of what we'd all been circling around. So thank you for saying it explicitly.
Yeah, I mean, there's also a part of me that prefers to have one document, because when people start to say like, oh, no, look at this document for that and look at that document for that, it gets a little bit clunky sometimes. So 3 documents that would probably be bound together in one document. How's that sound?
Right. Big sections.
Okay. I just want to touch lastly on the procedures part. I know we're at 10 past, so the 2 highlighted passages here are on the annual summary and communication with the community I think those are things that we would sort of put in that sort of recommendations to CAC category. Compensation is just copied from the ordinance, probably don't need to repeat it. Well, commission opinions is probably helpful to state. Christine, go ahead. Coming off of mute is as good as raising your hand.
I know. I didn't know if you saw this. I gotta. I wonder if this, because I think that this section could maybe be moved into that CAC guidance section because it's CAC procedures. That would probably be my recommendation. Which is might not be that profound, but
move the whole section because the ICAC doesn't really need this.
Right.
Okay. So what I'm hearing is simplify the ICAC, overall simplify the ICAC bylaws to as little as possible, but have a separate document that is like, here's what we think the ICAC should deeply consider. And then a third document that's basically, well, the third document is basically the job description.
Yes, that's right. I think for the second one, you said ICAC, but you meant CAC.
Probably, yes.
Yeah.
Probably, yes. That's correct.
So that's great.
Okay. Okay. Why don't I stop sharing here? We do have a couple other items on our agenda that we'd love to touch on. Whoops, sorry. I missed the button. There we go. And those other items are oh, sorry, I neglected to open it up for public comment. So
is there a public?
There is a public.
Oh.
Thank you, Ben, for coming, and should have just invited you to raise your hand at any point to just comment on our bylaws discussion and intent for the ongoing. But feel free to chime in. Also not required, so this is not a cold call. While Ben thinks about it, we have some time here for city updates, in particular on state level policy stuff.
Yeah, that's me. I was just gonna kind of provide some updates of what we've been doing the last couple months. There's been a lot happening at the state level, so that's been exciting. I think probably a lot of you are aware of some of those things. I think we had the governor's energy affordability bill that was introduced at the state level, and the hearing on that was June 25th. So the mayor provided comment that OSC helped to draft there. It was a very wide-ranging bill. I think if you guys haven't had a chance to look at the energy affordability bill, it touches on like pretty much every topic related to energy in the state, I think, that you could imagine. So I think just to kind of like highlight some of the sections that we had some comments on, there were some pieces about putting restrictions on third-party electricity suppliers, which we had a comment on because you guys may have seen that the mayor joined a campaign with other municipal leaders to recommend that third-party energy suppliers are actually banned rather than placing restrictions on them. So we kind of commented on that letter, advancing that position. And then there was another piece about inclusive utility investment program, which would allow for on-bill financing for clean energy upgrades to homes. So it would kind of open up this financing for these technologies to people who usually don't have access, like renters who could pay for a heat pump on their bill as a monthly expense. And then if they were to move, then whoever moved into that property would continue to pay for it. And also people who are lower income and can't afford that higher upfront cost would also have access. So things like that we thought were really great. We kind of commented on it from Somerville's perspective as having a huge renter population. Yeah, so I think that was one bill. And then the other big one at the state level was the Mass Ready Act. So there's a hearing July 15th on that. The Mass Ready Act is an environmental bond bill, so it's not appropriating any money, but kind of laying out what the state could fund in the coming years. And a lot of those projects are resiliency projects. So we worked with other departments in the city to kind of comment on how some of the programs that are included in the environmental bond bill, like the resilience revolving fund and the municipal vulnerability program, should be able to be used for kind of a wide variety of projects, especially like combined sewer overflow projects and stormwater mitigation, just kind of things that like maybe typically aren't thought of as like climate resiliency projects, but definitely do have a climate kind of connection and are huge expenses for municipalities. Yeah, so I think that kind of gives a little bit of a flavor of what we commented on those two bills. Yeah, and then I think a couple other things I just wanted to mention that may be of interest to this group. On Somerville's community choice electricity program, you guys may have seen some of the city communications. I think it was on our Instagram and I'm sure other places that like Eversource's basic rate increased because they have their like 6-month rate as of August 1st. So now the CCE default rate is less expensive than Eversource's rate. And I think that's just, you know, obviously that changes regularly, but wanted to mention it because the city also did publish a letter to the editor in the Boston Globe recently. There was an article that kind of was speaking about community choice electricity programs more broadly, especially in Boston, but also kind of called out Somerville's program and kind of made a few misleading claims. So we did write a letter to the editor, which was published, which was really, I mean, unfortunate that we had to write the letter, but we were happy that it was published and we could kind of respond on the record to some of those points. And then MAPC, the, oh gosh, Metropolitan Area Planning Council also wrote a letter to the editor on the same topic, and it was published alongside our letter as well. Yeah, so I think that's all I wanted to cover, but I'll pause if there's any questions on any of that.
Yeah, Courtney.
I was wondering if, in addition to that, there was any information on whether the city has decided to put in a pre-application for DOER's Transforming Energy in Schools initiative. It's due on Friday, the pre-app.
Yeah, I will turn to Christine for that. I did see your email. Thanks, Courtney.
Yeah, thanks so much, Courtney. I would have to ask Garrett to follow up there. I know he was looking into it with infrastructure and asset management to see if we had an appropriate project for it. But he is on vacation currently, but I will make sure to get back to you.
Okay, because the deadline is Friday, so if he's the one to do it and he's not here, it sounds like it's not going in unless IAM is the one that's taking it on.
I can
The
double
pre-app
check and
wasn't, I don't think that involved.
I'm sorry?
The actual application is not due for several months. The pre-application was just to raise your hand that you would want to be part of the ongoing application process. So it wasn't.
Yeah. Okay.
But you'd miss the opportunity if we didn't put in the pre-application this week.
I'll double check with him and make sure to get back to you.
Okay. Thanks.
And then that way I can figure out like if we did look into it, you know, why it wasn't a good fit right now and make sure that I can give you a full response.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Ramon?
It just coincided that not long before the meeting, I had seen Noemi's latest newsletter that highlighted the CCE Eversource rate versus the basic green. That's fantastic news, and I hope we get to we don't have to brag about it, but to communicate it amply as anytime CCE is promoted, saying that this is the kind of thing that's common, you know, that at some point in the life of the contract, it is better than sticking with standard Eversource. So that's fantastic.
Thank you.
I'm curious if you've had any incoming questions about the heat pump rates.
Yes. Yeah, we have. And that is something that I'm in contact with Eversource on. There's a couple, I know Kate attended a webinar on it, and we've received some information about it from our grant partners. And I'm following up with Eversource regarding some general questions. So if you have any, feel free to let me know, and I can help either answer them, or I can ask for clarification.
Yeah, I mean, the only question, a couple people have asked me how this fits with community choice electricity, and my understanding is that the heat pump rate covers distribution, or affects the distribution rates from Eversource, and so like if you're getting the CCE rate, which just covers the generating side, you can still participate in the heat pump rate because that's on the distribution side, so they're not in conflict. That's my understanding, but I'm not quite sure if you know otherwise. But I've been asked that a couple times, so.
Good to know. Yeah, I will loop you in on. I asked Eversource to verify because I've gotten some information from like consultants and folks that we work with, but I just wanted to like make sure before I started to tell people.
Okay, sounds good. Alexis?
Yeah, one of the questions I had is just like how, because I don't think it's automatic. I think you have to opt in, and sort of what are the steps for doing that, and also how soon can people opt in, just so that we can be communicating that externally. I know some of that's probably still to be decided, but those are the big, like how and when do we do it?
Yes, agree. Good questions, and I will make sure to include those.
Ramon?
Yeah, I wonder, I mean, I know that there's all this discussion to be had or whatever, but I wasn't aware or familiar with this concept of heat pump rate. Is there like a quick 2-sentence description of what it is? And I mean, I had not been aware of that.
Cheaper power for heat pump users in the winter. How's that for a short description?
So the distribution rate in the bills depends on whether you have or not heat pumps that they're tracking?
I believe so.
Yeah, I think in theory it's like there's like the R1, R2, R3, and R4, and depending on whether you're on like fuel assistance or not, and whether you have electric heat or not, you're going to be on R2 or R4, and for your like electric rate, and then this would introduce like a new rate that would be for heat pumps specifically. Yeah, I don't want to, because you guys are getting questions about it, I want to make sure that like I have my information verified before I share it with you. So I think what I'll do is, because I don't want to cause any misinformation, but what I'll do is once I get word from Eversource, like confirming what we've heard, then I'll share it out with folks. Or, if it's before, yeah, I could include it in the materials for the next meeting too. Maybe like as like an FAQ, maybe we could do it as like an FAQ or something, Kate, something, because yeah, and well, I'm sure that we'll probably post something on the CCE website too. I'll talk to Naomi about that.
Cool.
So
Yeah,
just to reiterate, so this is the reason we hadn't heard about it is because it wasn't an existing thing. This is a new thing that's starting soon.
Correct.
November 1st,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, if there are no other questions on some state policy updates, then we should probably touch on our meeting schedule for the next few months. Why do I bring that up? We had talked about, so first of all, for September, we had talked about potentially doing another hybrid meeting. And sort of curious if y'all are open to that. The date for that is the September 9th, Tuesday, September 9th.
Well,
Right.
Larry, too, maybe we check in if Ben had any comments on that last section too.
Oh, yes, of course. Yes, Ben, please raise your hand and jump in if you have questions, comments, notes of appreciation on any of the state policy stuff as well. Ramon.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment something that I had mentioned to Larry last night, actually, which is when we had that mixed mode meeting, in person and not, I happened to be not present. And my feedback is, as I recall, the camera, what I saw, that I was at one end of the long table, and I remember Larry was in the middle. And what I do remember is that anytime there was someone speaking beyond the middle of the table, and sometimes even in the middle, it was very hard to understand and to hear. So whatever the voice capture needs to be more homogeneous, because I remember struggling with what was that? What was that?
Okay. Microphone in the middle of the table.
The microphone is the camera, so we would have to purchase an expansion.
Got it.
But we do have, yeah, there is potentially some solutions coming, but not I don't know if they'll be here in time for the next meeting, but oh no, actually. Never mind. I'll talk to folks and see what I can do. That's great feedback. Thank you, Ramon. I know a lot of public meetings happen in that room because it's an accessible space.
I mean, I don't know how other groups handle it or whether they don't, but it was it was very real.
Okay, that's good to know. Yeah. I'll talk to folks and see what we can do. But yeah, how does that impact folks' thoughts about hybrid versus not hybrid?
September 9th. Or do you just not want to do it because we don't think the audio will be adequate for remote participants?
I mean, maybe are there people that know they can't attend in person? Because I guess I would say if we know that people can't attend in person that night,
Yeah.
I would be inclined to do it fully remote, just because I think it's less, there's only 5 of us, so there's less benefit in meeting in person if there's only 2 of us coming in person. And I think it is much harder to be part of a hybrid meeting and fully participate audio and everything. So
Yeah, agreed. So I guess that's like, raise your hand if you cannot make it in person on September 9th, or would prefer not to make it in person on September 9th. Yeah, road scratching. Is that raising your hand? That's halfway raising your hand. I would take that as everyone is available and willing and able. And so let's try to do that by September 9th. And if circumstances change, please let us know quickly so that we don't make mistakes with sending the agenda out.
So the default is which?
Hybrid. We are in
hybrid, but commissioners will attend in person.
In person.
Okay.
Kate?
Are we happy with the 7 to 8:30 time for next month?
Yeah, we again have
I will
this.
say I can't do it earlier in person, so that
I'm fine with the time.
Okay. Good question, Kate. Moving to the October meeting, our scheduled date, I'm sorry, we're running a little bit over here, but our scheduled date is the 14th. Second Tuesday, 14th. I will not be present, which is absolutely fine, but just wanted to throw that out there. Ramon, are you comfortable chairing that meeting?
Yeah.
That's the holiday week. Indigenous Peoples' Day is Monday. I would have a slight preference for, I'm traveling that weekend and there's a chance I might not be back. My preference would be if others are amenable that maybe we push it back a week and do the 21st, just given that Monday's a holiday.
Alexis, you're raising your hand.
Yep, the 21st works.
Same here.
Okay, and I will point out, I will still be not present for the 21st, so Ramon, you will still be chairing that meeting. I waited till everybody answered before I pointed that out.
Yeah, and I'll just say I'm pretty sure I will be available, but there is a chance that I will have to, that I will not, I also will be out of town. But I should know that before our September meeting, so I can confirm in September if that's the case.
Sounds
Yeah,
good.
please do because of quorum.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you so much.
And just checking on one last date, if I could, our November meeting is currently scheduled for November 11th, which is also a holiday. So
Veterans Day. So I know I was going to say, I was going to jump ahead if you didn't. I know I'm going to be out of town on the 18th, which is the following one. And then we get into Thanksgiving.
yeah,
So the 4th is also, it's election day. So Tuesdays are rough in November.
yeah.
I mean, I was, my preference would be to keep it on Vets Day, but that's, if folks want to meet without me on the 18th, I'm totally fine with that. I just will not be available.
Alexis?
Yeah, I would suggest moving it to the 18th, which should work for me, or potentially canceling the meeting.
Or would a Wednesday work?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think we should have it on the holiday.
Yeah.
Especially because the staff are off.
Yeah. I personally can't do
Among
Wednesdays
others.
in October and November.
Sorry, Alexis, you can't do.
Wednesdays in October and November.
Okay.
I can't do Wednesdays in October. I can in November.
Okay.
Not that
Well,
that's helpful.
Maybe,
What about
yeah, maybe it
Monday?
was, yeah, scheduling out 3 meetings was ambitious and a worthy task, but maybe we
on our
do like
radar.
a poll. Yeah, it's on the radar that November is looking kind of mushy, so maybe we do like a poll.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kate and I can work on sending something out to folks.
We can do
That's
that
for
way.
October, so, because we're also still tentative on October, right? It's either the 21st or do we confirm that we're meeting that way?
Yeah, Ramon, maybe do you want to maybe talk offline and we can confirm for the 21st
Okay,
or send it back out to folks?
okay.
Any new business? Hearing none, thank you. That was a super productive meeting. Appreciate it. 5 people are efficient.
Thanks all. Good to see you.
Good to see everybody.
Bye.
Cheers.
Have a good week.
You too. Bye. Meeting adjourned.